The music drifted from the main hall, soft strings and piano, elegant and distant. From where Nick stood just beyond the white arch of the garden gate, the sound was muted, like a movie playing in someone else's life. He adjusted the cuffs of his suit jacket, his driver's uniform crisp pressed and deliberately nondescript. Not too formal, not too informal, just functional. The kind of outfit designed to blend in, to become invisible, which tonight was the point. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the sprawling estate. The fountain in the center courtyard caught the last glint of light and scattered it like shattered glass. White tents shimmered. Laughter floated through the warm spring air, punctuated by the clinking of champagne flutes. Someone toasted the happy couple. The crowd erupted in applause. Nick's fingers curled around the bouquet of white peonies resting on the hood of the car. The note, still attached, read, "Just in case." See, just in case what? He muttered to himself. A whisper of silk drew his gaze. And then he saw her, clear, dressed in white, radiant, gliding down the stone path like a vision. But not toward him. Her arm was linked with another man's. Not her father, not her brother, not his. The crowd stood, phones raised, a drone buzzed overhead, capturing the perfect aerial angle. Her smile was flawless, her posture impeccable, her mask airtight. And that man beside her, the groom kissed her hand, grinning like he'd just won the lottery. Nick didn't move, didn't speak, didn't breathe. He caught movement from the corner of his eye, a woman stepping toward him from the crowd. High heels, burgundy lips, cold eyes behind perfect lashes. Clear's mother. Vivian. She looked him over like a wine glass with a crack, polished but disposable. "Thank you, dear," she purred, adjusting her pearls. "You played your part beautifully." Then she winked. Actually winked! And vanished into the sea of guests, her laugh like shattered crystal. Nick blinked. Once. Twice. His hand slid into the open trunk behind him. Inside, hidden beneath folded blankets and toolkits, sat a compact black DSLR. Red light blinking. Still recording. He'd filmed everything, every kiss, every whisper, every moment leading up to this spectacle. A part of him wanted to scream, to charge into that perfect little fairy tale and rip it apart frame by frame. But another part, colder, sharper, told him to wait. He let the camera roll, because if this was a performance, then it deserved a fitting final scene. And this time, he wasn't just a prop in her story. He was the director. The motel room smelled like old wood and secrets. Nick sat on the edge of the bed, the camera in his lap, the flickering screen of his laptop casting sharp shadows on the wallpapered walls. Outside, a neon sign buzzed. Red Lantern Inn, weekly rates. The irony wasn't lost on him. He rewound the footage for the third time, not because he needed to see it again, but because something about repetition helped sharpen the pain into clarity. There she was, Claire, in his apartment the night before the wedding. No veil, no act, just her in his hoodie, legs crossed on the couch, barefoot, sipping wine she brought herself. "You know it's complicated," she had said softly, half laughing, pressing her forehead to his. "Just hold on a little longer, okay?" She kissed him, like it meant something, like he meant something. Nick paused the frame, staring at the moment her eyes softened. That perfect little illusion of intimacy. She'd always been good at that. Turning emotion on and off like a light switch. His hand hovered over the trackpad, then clicked export. The video segments were already sorted, labeled, cropped, time-stamped. He hadn't planned to use them, not at first. Back then, filming their moments had been something private. A way to remember her, honestly. Now it was evidence. The betrayal didn't just sting, it humiliated. Because he hadn't missed the signs. He had ignored them. Like when Vivian called him darling with that acidic smile, or when Clear always changed the subject when he asked about her family, when she told him, "You wouldn't get it, they're just a complicated bunch." Complicated, right, that word again. He leaned back against the headboard, staring at the ceiling. A part of him still felt foolish for not storming into the ceremony. For not pulling a real cinematic stunt, objecting loudly, ruining everything. But he knew that would have just made him look like a jilted, emotional mess. A footnote in her story. Instead, he'd slipped away. Slipped into control. Now it was her turn to be watched. Opening the wedding app had been too easy. The guest list, chat room, announcement board, all automated, all connected. He'd seen a QR code stuck near the catering tent, leading to a digital hub for attendees. He scanned it out of habit, logged in as Nicholas James. Private transport. Most people used it to upload photos of their table settings or Tag the band. Nick had other plans. He attached the file. He didn't send it yet. Not just yet. First, he previewed the edit again. The pacing, the audio, the cut from her whispering, "You're the real thing," to the shot of her walking down the aisle with someone else. It was flawless. Nick didn't want to destroy her. He wanted to expose her. Let them all see the woman they were celebrating, the one who said love was complicated, then married a stranger for status. He wanted them to understand what it meant to be used, to be erased in plain sight. His phone buzzed. A new post on the wedding board. "Best day of our lives." Attached, a picture of Claire and her husband, mid-set, faces glowing, confetti in their hair. Nick smiled. No warmth in it. He reached for the wine bottle beside the bed, taken from the reception before he left. One glass. He poured it slow, raised it in a mock toast. "To your complicated family," he muttered. Then he clicked send to all. The laptop screen dimmed as the files uploaded to every guest's inbox, every vendor's shared drive, the digital signage system that looped photos across flat screens at the venue. Nick leaned back and took a sip. Now, the show was about to begin. It started as a flicker, one of the side screens, the kind set up for guests to watch highlights and well wishes, glitched for a second during a live slideshow of baby photos and honeymoon predictions. Then it stuttered again. The crowd in the main tent was deep into the post-ceremony glow, crystal flutes raised high, canapes vanishing from silver trays, speeches filled with polite laughter. A string quartet played an airy rendition of a Coldplay song no one quite recognized, and then the screen turned black. Static crackled. The sound faded. Then her voice, "You're the only thing that feels real." Someone dropped a glass. It shattered audibly, even through the music. The screen lit up, a shot from Nick's apartment, soft natural light falling across Claire's face as she sat cross-legged in one of his shirts, barefoot, wine in hand. "Just hold on a little longer, okay?" The sound system picked it up now, echoing her words over the tent. The music stopped. Eyes turned. The staff froze. And then the next cut, her lips against Nick's, slow and deliberate, intimate, undeniable. The footage wasn't sleazy or pornographic. It was personal. That made it worse. Far worse. Gasps broke out in waves. Some guests looked around in confusion. Others stared, riveted. The groom, Michael, heir to a shipping dynasty, stood motionless near the cake table, fork still in hand. His brother beside him muttered something and grabbed his arm. The two vanished toward the side exit. The screen kept rolling. Nick had edited it like a short film. Shots of Claire laughing in bed, whispering things that now sounded weaponized. "With you, I feel like myself." They'd never understand us. Then, final frame, the moment Nick caught her in her wedding dress walking down the aisle to another man. Freeze frame, a sharp cinematic click. Then, black screen, just a few seconds of silence. And then, her mother's voice, unfiltered, casual, too real. He played his part beautifully. It was the final bullet. The guests were no longer polite. Conversations erupted, voices raised. A couple stormed out. Someone started filming the screen with their phone. Irony layered thick. Vivian stood near the head table, lips taut, eyes scanning the room like a general assessing battlefield losses. She barked something at the AV technician who looked like he was about to cry. Claire was gone. No one saw when she disappeared. Some said she ran to the powder room. Others claimed she fainted. One girl swore she was in the kitchen screaming into a plate of risotto. But Nick didn't need confirmation. He was already gone. At the far end of the estate near the valet circle, Nick stood by the car, the engine idling low, his driver's badge still clipped to his lapel. To anyone passing by, he was just doing his job. Anonymous. Forgettable. His camera rested on the passenger seat. The rearview mirror reflected the glittering chaos behind him. Security guards rushing inside, servers abandoning trays, guests filing out like ants from a kicked mound. He watched without smiling, just breathing, slow, measured, like a man who had just stepped off stage. The wedding planner, a woman in beige with a headset, hurried past, barking into her mic. "Who sent it? Find the source, pull the feed. I don't care if it's in the cloud, rip it down." Too late. By now, the email had reached every guest's inbox, sent from the official wedding RSVP app. The subject line, "For your eyes only, Claire's vows." Nick had embedded a timestamp so the file played immediately, no buffering, no warning. The app developers would probably shut down the link by morning, but by then it would already be everywhere. Shared in group chats, screen recorded, saved to devices, turned into whispers, then headlines, then legacy. The point wasn't destruction. It was truth, wrapped in performance. A story told the only way it would ever be heard. Nick pulled out a wedding favor from the glove compartment, a miniature bottle of vintage Merlot labeled "Forever Begins Today." He unscrewed the cap, took one long sip. Then, from the other seat, he picked up a small folded note, the one Clear had left him the night before, handwritten on hotel stationery. "You deserve someone real. I'm sorry I can't be that right now." He held it over the flame of a lighter until it curled and blackened, ash drifting out the open window like confetti. Across the property, a woman screamed. Another voice shouted back. Someone was crying. The orchestra had stopped playing long ago. Nick shifted the car into drive. Classical music began playing softly from the stereo, something old, sweeping, dramatic. He didn't look back. The gates opened slowly in front of him, wrought iron peeling apart like curtains. This wasn't revenge. This was curation, his final cut, and it was beautiful. By the next morning, the footage had gone viral, at least within the circles that mattered. It started with a bridesmaid's repost on Instagram, just the video's final line. He played his part beautifully, no context, no caption, just a cropped screen capture and a flood of shocked face emojis. By noon, it had migrated to wedding gossip pages, private Discord servers, and TikTok threads, with captions like "Elite Marriage Scandal Exposed." They didn't know Nick's name, not yet, but they knew hers. Claire Beaumont, daughter of Richard and Vivian Beaumont, heiress to a discreet but influential wine and pharmaceutical empire, now forever tagged as white dress red flag. At her father's golf club, they stopped offering the family discount. The wedding photos pulled down from the planner's site. The PR team tried spinning a quick narrative, a coordinated attack by a disgruntled staff member, but no one bought it. Not with that kind of intimacy, not with Clear whispering, "You're the only thing that's real," while adjusting Nick's tie in her apartment. The authenticity was radioactive, and the timing? Surgical. Vivian made a series of hushed calls to lawyers, to press liaisons, to friends in crisis management. She booked a private suite at the Four Seasons and pulled Clear into isolation, away from cameras and questions. But the damage was already inside. In the suite, Clear stood in front of the bathroom mirror, wiping off smeared makeup with a towel that now looked like a murder scene. Her reflection didn't match her memory. She looked old, not in years, in wear. Every lie seemed etched into the fine lines around her mouth. Her eyes were red from crying, but not from guilt. From exhaustion, from being seen. Vivian paced behind her, phone glued to her ear, voice sharp and controlled like a surgeon operating without anesthesia. "No statements yet. We control the silence. Do you understand me?" But Claire didn't answer. She was staring at her phone, rewatching the video. Not the kiss, not the bed, just the final moment, that click when Nick raised 2 fingers to his temple like a camera shutter. A perfect goodbye. Detached. Cool. She was the mess. He was the ending. The groom, Michael, hadn't called. His parents had pulled him from the venue that night. His father issued a single text to Vivian. "We'll speak through legal channels only." No one blamed him. He hadn't just been cheated on. He'd been made a fool of, publicly, at his own wedding, with a guest list full of CEOs, old money cousins, and strategic investors. The kind who don't forget. The kind who never forgive public embarrassment. Vivian hung up. Sat, finally still. "Clear," she said softly. "You need to fix your face. There are still cameras in the lobby." Clear didn't move. She set the phone down and whispered, almost inaudibly, "Do you think he loved me?" Vivian blinked. "That's not the question that matters." "I think he did," Claire said. "Right up until I turned him into a ghost." Her mother didn't answer. She didn't need to. Across town, in a quiet cafe, Nick stirred his espresso without sipping it. The city buzzed outside, indifferent. Cars passed. People argued about parking spaces. The world moved on. But not for him. On his phone screen, messages poured in. One from a wedding guest. "Dude, was that really you?" Another anonymous. "You ruined her life. Hope it was worth it." They didn't respond. He wasn't here for the reactions. He was reviewing edits because the project, the real one, had already begun. On his screen was a draft storyboard. Title, "Supporting Roles." Genre, short film / documentary hybrid. Logline, "When love is used as set dressing, even the extras get to write the final act." He was pulling scenes from old clips, layering them with audio recordings, overlays of social media reactions and commentary. Not bitter, not vengeful, just precise. He wasn't here to whine. He was building something, not to bury her, to liberate himself. Because when you've been someone's secret, someone's background noise, you learn how to hear what others miss. You become fluent in subtext. You learn which silences are weapons. The waitress brought his check. He paid in cash. As he stood, he left behind a small card. the kind handed out by independent filmmakers. On the back, written in small black ink, "If you want to play with masks, learn to respect the stage." He walked into the morning sun. Somewhere behind him, another article dropped. "Cinematic betrayal inside the viral wedding scandal nobody saw coming." And still, he didn't look back, because this wasn't his ending. This was just her unmasking. And his final rehearsal, the city shimmered under a dusk sky, neon signs flickering to life like actors hitting their marks. People hurried to dinner reservations, rooftop bars filled with curated laughter. Somewhere between all that movement, Nick stood still. In front of a modest building tucked into an alley, a film studio sign half lit above the doorway. Inside, the screening room was small but polished. A single projector, red velvet seats. Nick inserted the drive. On the screen, the first frame faded in, a close-up of Clear's face, soft light spilling across her cheek as she smiled at someone behind the camera. She looked happy, unscripted, real. Then the screen cut to black. White text appeared. Supporting roles, a true story by Nick James. No overproduction, no melodrama, just the truth, told plainly, framed like art, because that's what it was now. Not gossip, not scandal, art. He leaned back in the chair, arms folded. In the seat beside him sat a producer from an indie streaming platform. 28, sharp, jaded, but clearly intrigued. "This actually happened?" she whispered after the lights came up. Nick didn't answer directly. He just looked at her, the kind of look that said, "You already know it did." A week later, the short film premiered under a pseudonym. It wasn't mass-marketed, no trailers, no clickbait thumbnails, just a quiet release under the category Modern Fables. It went viral anyway, not just because it was scandalous, but because it was smart, because it said something people didn't usually say out loud. Sometimes love is just branding, and sometimes the extras in your story, they learn how to direct. Nick never gave interviews. He didn't need to. Far uptown, in a glass tower with concierge-level elevators, Clear watched the film alone. She had clicked the link out of morbid curiosity, told herself she wouldn't watch the whole thing, but she did. All of it, twice. She watched herself fall in love. She watched herself lie. She watched herself weaponize softness like a professional. She didn't cry. There was no room left for that. Instead, she opened a journal, one her therapist suggested she start. First page. She wrote, "I built a life for the audience. I forgot who I was backstage." She stared at the sentence for a long time, then she turned the page. Nick's life didn't explode after the premiere. It evolved. He left the city a month later, moved west, a teaching gig at a film school, guest lectures only. He spent most days by the coast, walking with a camera around his neck, filming strangers from afar, quiet things, honest things. No one there knew his story, and he liked it that way. But every so often, a student would catch the glint in his eye during a lecture and ask, "Have you ever been in love?" He'd pause, then smile, just a little. "Once," he'd say. It made a hell of a film. On the final night before he left New York, Nick visited one last place, the wedding estate. It was closed for winter, gates locked. The vines along the archway had gone brittle. He walked the perimeter, cameras slung over his shoulder. As he stood by the fountain, the same one that once reflected golden light and applause, he whispered a single line. "If you want to play with masks, be ready when the mirror cracks." Then he raised his fingers to his temple. Fade to black.